Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll just take a couple minutes while we have a few more folks joining. Appreciate your patience. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Jenna Young-Castro. I'm the Director of Communications at the Assembly of First Nations. Before I invite National Chief Bellegarde to make some opening comments, I just ask that when we do open the floor to questions, you introduce yourself and identify your news outlet, and I'll moderate through the chat. So when you have a question, please identify in the chat, and I'll ask you to go ahead. We'll be allowing for a follow-up to each question. So again, thanks for joining. And with that, I'll invite National Chief Bellegarde to make some opening remarks.
Okay, thank you, Jenna, and thank you all for coming and for listening. And the comments I want to make are related to the papal apology and the trip to the Vatican coming up in December. In 2015, our Assembly of First Nations embraced all 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, including call to action number 58, which is speaking to the need for a papal apology here in Canada. As well, in 2018, the Chiefs of Canada by resolution again renewed its call for a papal apology in addressing call to action number 58. And so at the AFN, we've been working on this for a number of years now to get this planned and organized. And it's now confirmed that on December 17th of 2021 and December 18th of 2021 and December 20th of 2021 in the Vatican, that there will be a delegation from Canada going. A delegation made up of AFN, Assembly of First Nations representatives, from the MNC and ITK as well. And so that's confirmed. And it's all part of reconciliation. It's all part of healing, but it's really focusing on TRC call to action number 58 for the full implementation of that. And I'll leave it at that. And we'll start looking at taking some questions from the media.
Thanks, National Chief. I don't see any notes in the chat here. Please go ahead and go in the chat if you'd like to ask a question.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Olivia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. National Chief, thank you for your time this afternoon. I do have a question for you. I would like to start with the finding out of from the Lower Kootenay Band today of just under 200 unmarked burial sites discovered at the former St. Eugene residential school. Wondering what your reaction is to that. And we spoke to the chief of this band just this morning, and he compared the findings to Nazi war crimes. And I'm wondering what role you think the Justice Department at the federal government's level should have in prosecuting anybody who's responsible for this.
Well, thanks for the question, Olivia. And not only like from today, the new find, there's 215 at Kamloops, the 751 unmarked graves at Cowessess, and now the 180 plus at Cranbrook. And again, we have 139 sites across Canada where the residential schools were. And each and every one of those sites needs to be investigated properly. And this is a validation of what the survivors have been saying, that there are unmarked graves and that there has been death in these institutions. And some of them are like mass graves. Some of them are just unmarked graves. And so you have to do the proper research and investigation at every site to make sure that there is proper research done, proper investigation, and proper redress for commemoration of this. And so in some sites, some people will be saying, and each one will be different. At some sites, if they're fresh, the RCMP may be called. Some have called for the RCMP to possibly investigate crime scenes. And so again, elevating this to a national, international level is very important. That helps put appropriate pressure on the powers to be. But the focus is on getting the research done, the investigation done, and the proper commemorations done. The whole system of residential schools was a genocide. I've called it that. And we see the intergenerational traumas and feel the effects to this day. And so that's where it rests.
Thank you. And as a follow-up on the meetings with the Pope that are scheduled for December, I'm wondering, first of all, if you will be attending as part of this delegation, since you will no longer be national chief, of course, at that time. And secondly, would you like to see the Catholic Church do anything specific in the lead up to these meetings, such as fulfilling the settlement of $25 million to survivors, for example, as per the residential school settlement agreement, or releasing all documents related to residential schools? Do you need to see the church do anything before these meetings take place?
Again, it's all preparation. We are open-minded as well to forming a working group within the Assembly of First Nations to finalize details in terms of the delegation. So everything is a work in progress, working up to December 17th, 18th meetings at the Vatican. So those details have yet to be finalized. As far as preparation from the Roman Catholic Church, I would just keep urging them all to do as much as they can to start sharing data and documents and information and anything that they can to help provide the information to these grave sites that are there, like who is there, if they have records, that they should be openly accessible. So that would be the only message to the Catholic Church, is to do that piece and sharing data and records that they have right across Canada. And that would be the message going forward. And again, the preparation and planning for the December meeting will always be a work in progress. And there will be a committee formed here at AFN to finalize the details going forward.
Okay, Stephanie Taylor, Canadian Press.
Thank you so much for your time, National Chief. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm wondering, why do yourself and perhaps others think the Catholic Church or the Vatican it has perhaps changed their mind or might be open to delivering a papal apology, because they have not to date in past delegations, they haven't, even with news of more of these discoveries. So what makes you or perhaps others think that anything has changed in their position?
Well, to date, the Anglican Church has apologized. The Presbyterian Church has apologized. United Church has apologized. And this is really part of truth and be part of the healing and reconciliation process for survivors, to hear the apology from the highest position within the Roman Catholic Church, which is the Pope. And our hope and prayer is we can only implement the direction from our chiefs in assembly. And the chiefs in assembly have been clear: accept TRC calls to action, focus on call to action number 58, and it's very clear what 58 says, is to approach the Vatican and His Holiness and try to bring him to Canada so that he can make an apology directly to the survivors and their families here on Canadian soil. The government and the church are complicit with the implementation of the residential schools, and so they need to both acknowledge their role. And I think the Vatican and the Roman Catholic Church, they made apologies to the Irish people, they made apologies to the Indigenous people in Bolivia, and so I think the Spirit will move in the appropriate way at the appropriate time when things happen here in Canada.
Thanks very much. As well, National Chief, I'm interested to get your reaction to reports we're seeing of Catholic churches being burned or being vandalized. And do you have any concern from leaders that are characterizing what is happening to these churches as hate crimes?
Well, I can understand the frustration and the anger by people. And I would say that burning things down is not the way to proceed. I would say building things up would be the better way to proceed and build relationships. I can understand the frustration, the anger, and the hurt and the pain. There's no question. But to burn things down is not our way. Our way is to build relationships and build people.
I might ask him, like,
and come together.
Indigenous people went to see the Pope before and didn't come away with an apology. Why do you think?
Sorry, excuse me. Can you turn your mic off, please?
There's another question, supplement question.
Sorry, National Chief, I think you can go ahead and continue answering Stephanie's follow-up. I think that was just a mistake.
Okay. So yeah, that's my comments.
Okay, Brian Dryden from the Canadian Catholic News.
Yeah, hi, sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. I just want to follow up on the question about whether or not you've been given any assurances that that the Vatican or the Pope is actually willing to come to Canada, because I'm sure, as you saw today, there was the Globe and Mail story about, again, the Archbishop of the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops saying, that wasn't even sure it was necessary. Do you have any comment on that? And have you been given any assurances that this will be something that will be definitely on the agenda? Or is this something that more you're hopeful that it will come up there and will be proceeded on at the meeting? That's exactly it, Brian. There are no assurances that there will be an acceptance of a trip to Canada. There's no assurances of that. But we do have the meeting confirmed in the Vatican. So it's a step at a time. The TRC call to action number 58 is very clear, to invite His Holiness to Canada on the very land, the very soil where the residential schools happened, and to have him make a statement and hopefully the apology directly to the survivors and families. That's the expectation, that's the hope. The meeting's been confirmed at the Vatican, so we're going to take that meeting, and then as well at that time take the opportunity to invite His Holiness back to Canada at some point in the future. And again, there are no guarantees of any kind of apology or anything coming forward. There's no guarantee that he'll even come back to Canada, but we have to make the attempt, and we have to seize the opportunity. And I believe the Spirit will move, and I think things will happen in a good way. That's my belief, and that's my hope, and that's my prayer. Thank you.
National Chief, the next question is from Francois Gloutenay at Presence. He asked me to ask the question on his behalf. He says the CCAB says this delegation has been planned for the last 2 years. Were you part of this planning, or was it a surprise to learn?
No, we built a relationship up. The Canadian Council of Catholic Bishops is a very important body here in Canada, and you have to have relationships with them, especially when you're dealing with the Vatican and His Holiness. And so we built up those relationships in the past 2 years, and working with them to start thinking and planning of this delegation to the Vatican. And so we've been working at this for a number of years right now, so we can confirm that. And so this is just again, a culmination of 2 years of planning. And we're looking forward to the December meeting in Rome.
And he has a follow-up question, and you have mentioned this, but it's a little bit different. Call to action number 58 says the Pope must come to Canada, not that First Nations delegates go to Rome, correct?
Correct. And so this is the first step, though. So we're going to seize the opportunity in the meeting in December. And at that time, we will make the formal invitation to His Holiness to come back to Canada. And so he can speak directly to the survivors here.
Okay, thank you. Ian Austen at the New York Times.
Hi, Chief Bellegarde. Do you anticipate that the Pope might offer some sort of preliminary apology in Rome?
Again, we don't know what will happen in Rome exactly. We can't speak or profess to know what the Pope will have in his message to us. We do want to seize the opportunity again to invite him back here. We know he's very open-minded. He's very sympathetic. He has made some powerful statements, to the Irish people and as well to the people, Indigenous people in Bolivia. And so we are hopeful that at some point in time, the appropriate words will come, the Spirit will move. I think the objective in December will be to really formally place the invitation, the formal invitation, in the most respectful way for His Holiness to come back to Canada. And I think that would be the most important thing, for him to accept that invitation. And then no one will know if he does and when he does come back to Canada, what words will come from his mind, heart, and spirit. But we hope they will be very powerful. They hope they will be healing. They will hope they will be filled with Spirit, because it is part of truth and reconciliation, healing, and the survivors need that, and their families need to hear.
And I'm sorry, you went over this earlier, but I'm still a little unclear. The financial compensation question, will you be raising that specifically during these meetings at the Vatican?
That's still another outstanding issue. There's the outstanding issue of the apology directly. And the Catholic Church was to commit and help pay approximately $25 million back, and that has not yet been raised. So that will always be on another issue to be raised and somehow dealt with as well. But the focus will be on the apology and the survivor message.
Okay, Tavia Grant at the Globe and Mail.
Hello. Thank you, National Chief. I have just two questions. The first is picking up, I think, on what Olivia of CBC had said in terms of what you're looking for before the delegation. I wondered if you are hopeful or want to see the CCCB, the group of bishops themselves, issue an invitation to the Pope, in addition to what you are planning. Mm-hmm. Some say it does require an invitation from the bishops. And when I spoke with Archbishop Gagnon, I did ask him, I believe it was 8 times. I couldn't secure like a very direct answer or a commitment. And I wonder if you are hoping that they will respond by issuing an invitation themselves.
Well, thank you for the question. And as I've said, we've been working with the CCB, the Canadian Council of Catholic Bishops, for a number of years now to build that relationship. And I believe a respectful relationship has been built. We cannot speak on behalf of the Catholic bishops. We have built a partnership, and I know they're very influential and a very important group of people to work with. And any words and statement that they can say to help foster this invitation to come back would be very helpful. And we're going to always encourage that moving forward.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question, which is about the autonomy of the delegation. I wonder if the AFN on your side has full autonomy over who will go, or whether the bishops or the working group, which I believe consists of 4 bishops, whether they are asking also for a say in who will go.
It's a collaborative effort. The Assembly of First Nations is independent. But again, the communication, collaboration, and working together and the cooperation will always be there. It'd be good to know, and it's always better to work together than working in isolation. This is a very important meeting. We want to make sure we have the representatives of the knowledge keepers, the youth, the elders, the survivors, and getting the proper delegation is going to be very key. And so we welcome input from all sides and all groups. But again, AFN will make the determination with our leadership and our processes here as well, in terms of what's the best mix going forward.
Okay, Kieron at Global News.
Hello, Kieron O'Dea, Global News. Thank you for your time, National Chief. In light of this moment that we're in with, today's discovery in Cranbrook and others in recent weeks, how do you feel that Canada Day should be recognized this year and in the future?
Well, I think in light of the, well, thank you for the question. In light of the discovery at Kamloops and Cowessess and Cranbrook today, Canada Day is here. It's just that it will be marked in a different way. And instead of the huge fireworks and celebration, I think the day will be marked by somber reflection, somber thought, thoughts of reconciliation, thoughts of partnership, thoughts of having difficult dialogues on how we can move forward together to build a better country and be free from discrimination, racism against all peoples, and in particular First Nations people. And I think that's how the day should go forward. It's an education awareness time. It's Canadians have really opened their minds and hearts. Those 215 young people's spirits have woken up everybody, not only in Canada, but the world, about the need to work together and not forget the harm and the hurt and the death that happened here. So Canada Day will be here. It is Canada's Day. But again, it'll be marked in a different way. And I think it can be marked in a very powerful way, a very special way, a very spiritual way, and how we move forward together to acknowledge the truth that happened and move forward on a reconciliation path together.
Thank you.
Okay, Zoe, Radio Canada, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, hello. Sorry if I missed it. The FSIN in Saskatchewan is asking the Catholic Church to follow through on a promise they made to provide $25 million in compensation for the survivors. And so far, the fundraising only got 20% of this money. I was wondering, what is your position on this question?
Thank you for the question. Our position from the AFN would be to support the regions and support the FSIN in that call. That would be our position going forward. It was a commitment that was made, and it should be followed up on. And I think at the proper time, with the proper energies and the people involved, we'll work towards that goal being met.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. So as I said, this money was supposed to be gathered with fundraising. What do you think of the fact that the Catholic believers are asked to pay for what the church did with the residential schools?
Again, the churches are complicit in the administration of this policy of implementation of the residential schools. And we've talked, it was a government policy, but the churches as well were contracted to implement that policy. And I've called the residential schools a genocide of our people. And that's really what it is. And so there is complicitness. And if initially there was this call to raise these funds to help the survivors with their healing and reconciliation, we'd encourage that be accepted and followed up on and one day be fully implemented and honored. It is the right thing to do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I thank everyone for joining us today.
Thank you so much.